My name is Lesley Whipple, and I have been diagnosed with borderline personality disorder for the past 5 years. Borderline personality disorder is generally classified as a disorder with a lot of mood disturbances.
Borderline personality disorder is an emotional disorder that escalates more feelings than the average person does. When they feel happiness, they get really, really happy. When they feel anger, they're really, really angry. When they get sad, they're also extremely sad. Symptoms of borderline personality disorder are
Impulsive behaviors,
extreme behavior,
a lot of suicidality,
mood swings,
suicidal ideations,
reckless behavior,
thoughts,
self-harm,
attempts.
drug abuse.
The way I like to explain borderline to other people is it's almost like my emotions are hooked up to an amp, and you make one small emotion and all of a sudden it's projected to other people. So it really just kind of makes a really loud noise almost. When I'm feeling angry, it seems way over the top to them. They're like, why is your emotion so loud?
The only true way to tell if it's borderline personality disorder is to get diagnosed by a doctor, but there are plenty of resources online where you can test your symptoms against known variables of borderline personality disorder. So you can then try and see a doctor and then bring up the symptoms you have, and they'll be able to evaluate the symptoms based on the criteria.
There's a lot of speculation around why people are diagnosed with borderline personality disorder. Generally, it's due to some past trauma in a person's childhood.
To the best of the physician's knowledge, it is generally genetic.
Which is really kind of interesting because mine just so happens to be that my mom has borderline personality disorder. Not only does my mom have it, I have it, and my older sister has it. Some of that might be due to the environmental aspect of it, but a lot of it, I think, can be genetically inherited. How pets have separation anxiety, I kind of have that, and having really bad abandonment issues.
So when you do leave, you have to reassure them that you'll be returning shortly, and then always be honest about that.
I tend to have a hard time with emotions and regulating them. When I was younger, before it was an official diagnosis and I was being treated for it, I really couldn't keep a best friend for more than probably a year or two. And I didn't understand why. The fact that I've been able to have the same boyfriend for the past 4 years is honestly something really astonishing for most borderline patients.
The interesting thing with trying to keep the relationship going is I have PTSD and she has borderline personality disorder. It's been stressful at times, trying to, especially in the beginning part of the relationship, trying to understand why she'd get extreme emotions and then it'd sit there for a long period of time and she wouldn't be able to get past it like ordinary people would.
I wouldn't wish this on anyone. It's really, really intense to constantly be at odds with your own emotions.
In the early stages of our relationship, before we both stepped back and took some time for ourselves a little bit, it was like mixing fire with gasoline. She would light a fire, I'd dump gasoline on it, she'd then proceed to dump more gasoline on it, and we'd escalate. And it'd lead to a lot of shouting matches, a lot of hurt feelings. The issue with borderline personality disorder is not so much how you're perceiving their emotions, as so much as how they perceive their own emotions. A lot of times they're oblivious to them knowing that they're actually going through a borderline episode, especially people who haven't been seeking help for it or don't know that they're actually borderline. In which case, you need to be able to communicate with that person and allow them to know that what they're feeling or doing is being extra, quote unquote, where the emotions they're feeling is valid, but they're going too far with it. And as you grow with borderline personality disorder, being the one without it, you then have to become essentially their second brain. And it takes a lot of time, and after they've come out of their borderline state a little bit, to sit down and talk to them and run through the situations that happened to start making that a habit. By doing that, after a long period of time, it just becomes second nature that you sit down and you talk about it. Like, me and Lesley had an argument one time over something extremely stupid, and I tried leaving the situation, and she was being very borderline at the time, and got upset, followed me out to my car, would not let me leave because she was upset, but understood that I needed to leave, and sat on the car. I started moving the car, and I hit the brakes, and she happened to fall off, and that turned into a very long night, and afterwards we had to go through the steps and figure out what could have made the situation where, someone didn't fall off a car and get some road rash.
I like being able to put a name to everything that goes on with me. It's actually really nice to be diagnosed with something instead of just feeling crazy all the time. I'm not just crazy, I'm not psycho, I'm not like an over-the-top, over-dramatic like chick. It's just, no, I have something, I have a reason, I have a name for this, and it's not just because you just feel crazy. You just feel completely and utterly crazy if you don't know that you struggle with this. People are like constantly like, oh, is there a cure for borderline? No, nope. You can treat it, and you can definitely get it like under control, and you can live a normal life. What they call it in like the borderline community is a life worth living. So what they do is they treat you through CBT and DBT. CBT is cognitive behavioral therapy, where it's just sitting down, talking to your therapist, kind of coming up with coping mechanisms, and DBT is dialectal behavioral therapy. The specific borderline personality disorder treatment program was developed by a woman who actually lives with borderline. She developed this program, and it deals in mindfulness, living in this moment. You're not thinking about what's going on anywhere else with anything. It's also about trying to balance rational mind with emotional mind. Wise mind is merging the two and looking at things rationally and trying to perceive the truth and look at every possible aspect of it. It can be a lot of work. You are constantly putting in that effort, and eventually the effort just kind of starts to feel normal. Medications generally help manage everything. And yeah, like it sucks if you're one of those people who's on like 4 or 5 different medications to try and manage all of the different symptoms. But like, it's okay to need help. It's okay.
To learn more about mental health and get assistance, you can visit the National Institute of Mental Health at nimh.gov. Suicide Prevention Resource Center at sprc.org, the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline at suicidepreventionlifeline.org, or by calling the Suicide Prevention Lifeline at 1-800-273-8255, the Veteran Crisis Line at 1-800-273-82551. Options for individuals who are deaf or hard of hearing may call 1-800-799-4889 or your local non-emergency police department.
I'm fine. Which one do you want to do, babe?
I don't
The time I ran you over the
not right
car,
now
or the
anyway,
other
so-
ones?
The time you ran me over with the car. That one was a really bad one, so I think that one would be the best way to kind of show everybody, like, this is real life.
People running other people they love over with cars.
Yeah.